Hey guys, it's Adi. I'm back with another video. As you can see, I just came back from uni, so I'm just kind of like trying to chill. I'm just trying to chill. I'm a bit tired, but I wanted to talk with you guys. I wanted to have some time to just engage, just to chat, you know, just to get certain things off my mind. And I feel like you guys would listen and you guys would understand what I've got to say. I just would really want a listening ear on this platform. Like, that's the least, honestly, that's the least you could do for me. Because out in the real world, no one listens to me. No one really offers me that listening ear. And I just feel like I'm missing that. Guys, I'm just chatting. I'm just bullshitting you guys. Like, I have a listening ear. Like, I have sisters, I have friends. Honestly, I'm good. I just would really I feel like you guys would offer some, you offer some difference, I guess, to my life, you know. No, okay, I'm just chatting right now, but honestly, I feel like you guys would definitely add like some flavor, some spice, you know, whatever you could do. Just add that, you know. We can build a community of fun book reading, fun having community over here, because that's what I want to offer. And also I want to offer like moments where we could just deep think. So guys, this video is going to be on reading while black. Okay, reading while black. There's a lot to it, so I might have to make this a series, but honestly, I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot to just, you know, vent about. But interestingly enough, in my last year of uni, I study English with creative writing, by the way. In my last year of discourse, I have chosen a module called writing. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called writing in Black and Asian British. Something to do with that. But basically, the intent behind choosing this module was just to unpack like the history regarding black and Asian Brits. You know, we so much focus on the African American struggle, the plight that they suffered through, a very, you know, a very intense kind of struggle, but it tends to be only taught, to be studied. Even in our classrooms from secondary school and onwards, we just tend to focus so much on the racism that was experienced outside this country by other blacks. But this country has a history, and it's very well known, obviously, but it's just, it tends to be, the attention tends to be diverted from it. So I chose this module obviously to explore it further, but that was a tangent. I feel like this module, I feel like it will add some kind of texture to my own attitudes reading while black. So we're gonna get into it. But first, this episode is gonna be just me venting, just getting a couple of things off my chest. Okay, so what I tend to experience reading while black is this. I feel like there is something lacking. I feel a sense of lacking. I feel like there's something missing, sorry. You know, and it's very bothersome, really, because there is an overwhelming amount of romance books or other genres, really, you know. But as a romance reader, my attention is more so in that genre, not elsewhere. But I feel like this could apply to other genres of literature. I feel like there is just an overwhelming number of books that more so have a white character, have white characters, it's just centered from a non-black or non-ethnic person perspective. I feel like because of this overwhelming number of books, of, you know, forms of literature, that it just tends to come from a white perspective. That's how I can only say it in blatant layman terms, right? It just seems like the white perspective, it's really the default perspective that we're fed as youngins, as kids. You know, we see, you know, growing up in the era I grew up in, it was mainly white youth that we'd see experiencing, you know, coming of age, you know, experiences like romance, young love, you know, just trying to find yourself, trying to find your identity, trying to find your purpose, you know, in certain environments, you know. And obviously that has changed profoundly, you know, in the media, in TV, whatever. It's definitely changed, and even in the book community it's definitely changed. But coming from that era, growing up in that era, I felt like the default characters that were to be presented in, I guess you could say, a romance novel, they were supposed to be white. I mean, they were white. That's just what I believe. That's what I internalized, I guess. So it took me quite a while to come to terms with the fact that I actually want to read books, romance books especially, from a black girl's perspective. That's just what I don't know when exactly, but I can tell you I remember actively searching for it. I believe that change probably happened sometime in my late years in secondary school, probably when I was getting older, basically in secondary school. I remember actively searching to read books written from a black girl's perspective. So yeah, I just find it interesting because I love romance. I love to read romance. I just love romance, right? But as a child, I only felt like romance, the purest kind, you know, not the kind riddled with toxicity, you know, riddled with problems, poverty, just mess, just the toxic form of love. That kind I never associated with white people. That kind of love I associated with black people, with non-white people, period. So I was like, I definitely did look down on books like that. I definitely did not want to read books like that. To me, it's toxic love, in my opinion, is the worst kind of love. And I don't think that is just my opinion. I think most people know that. It's the worst kind of love. It's the worst kind of love to aspire to have. I mean, most people don't want a toxic kind of love, right? So the purest form of love that you'd see in like cute rom-com movies, you know, you'd read in cute rom-com novels, I felt that only white people could experience that. That could only be delivered from a white perspective, or white person's perspective, you know. And I just remember, like, I don't know, like I said, I don't exactly know what year, but I just remember just getting tired of the lack of representation, you know. I just remember feeling tired of it and just like seeking where I felt I could relate to. So I did. I've come a long way from almost dissociating from romance and just reading it from another person's perspective. Obviously, as a reader, you're reading, you know, anything that is any genre, right? You're reading from the perspective of the character, so you are far removed. But there is something about that character that draws you in. It doesn't necessarily always have to be about race. It doesn't have to be about culture. There could be attributes of this person, of this character, that you feel connected to, that you feel like, I understand, I could experience this, right? But when all you're reading is coming mainly from a white person's perspective, that to me is like there's some form of dissociation going on, that, you know, you don't believe this could happen to you. That is what I experienced as a youngin. That is what I felt like, you know, that is just what I experienced. I can't lie. I felt like dissociated from this love story, that I can never experience that because I'm black, and because I see a lack of representation of young black girls experiencing pure love. I don't see, I never grew up seeing that. I didn't see it much growing up. Like I said, in the era I grew up in, there was only a select few that, you know, I could actually list. But when most of what you're seeing are young white girls, all that doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. You know, and obviously these are first world problems, guys. I'm not trying to say like, I'm not trying to complain. I'm just sharing with you my opinions, really. I'm just sharing with you how I felt reading while black. I fell in love with reading at a very, very young age. Like, probably like in primary school. Probably was like year 5 or year 4. So I probably was like 9ish to 12ish, right? Around that period of time, I fell in love with reading. Like, I fell in love with especially romance reads, you know. And then obviously I was a part of the generation where Wattpad was kind of a thing. That was a space where obviously people, amateurs, could write and just, you know, publicize their books, right, and share it to mainly youths, right, like me. So during that time, I would read what people wrote, and I would enjoy. I would read like various fan fictions, you know. Yeah, I would read a lot, but mainly they were romance. So I think that's where my love for romance probably like grew, you know, because that's basically what I was reading, and I genuinely just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the genre, right? You know, obviously around that time, I definitely was reading characters with white people, basically experiencing romance, you know. And I remember, like, I believe it was Wattpad where I started to actually like search for romance novels from a black woman's perspective, from a black girl's perspective, you know. Yeah, so I remember actively searching on that platform. So then the more I grew up, the more I grew like a passion for it. I grew a passion for searching, for reading exclusively from black authors, honestly, because that's just where I was at. And it wasn't a part of no political movement, something that I just politicized, you know, an act that I made deliberate to be politically black, or, you know, no, I did it because I wanted to read romance from the perspective of a black girl. I was tired of just feeling dissociated, from feeling like I couldn't get it, like I couldn't experience love just because of that racial barrier, you know. So once I removed that racial barrier, I genuinely fell in love with romance even more. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the genre even more. I feel like if it wasn't for that, as a black girl, I probably would have gotten tired, or I would have fell into some kind of self-hate, you know, something maybe resembling that hatred, you know. So yeah, I really don't take for granted that decision, you know, that decision I made. You know, I didn't even really consider it like a decision. More so, I feel like it was me getting older and me growing and realizing that why am I not reading about my people? Like, why am I not reading romance from the perspective of a black girl? Let me see if I can find some. And I did, and I never felt, and I never seemed to come out of that, you know, spell, I guess.
Thanks. Well done. I had a really good time. It's my pleasure.
Once I fell into that hole, that rabbit hole, I guess, of reading exclusively black romance novels, like I said, I never came up out of it. I was in the sunken place. I was in the sunken place, for real, for real. Like, there was no way out, and I wasn't looking for an escape. To this day, I ain't looking for an escape. I was just I was very much appreciative of the representation, you know? I was like, wow, so is this where she's at? Is this how it is over on this side? Because at this point, 2020, I had completely came off of Wattpad. There just were, like, you know, some recommended black authors there, and, you know, but most of the time I just felt like the writing was juvenile, and I was kind of outgrowing that style of writing. So I went to Kindle Unlimited, and I was just looking, and I came across Love Delvin in 2020. As I grew older, my experience of being in that exclusive space of just black romance, you know, readers or whatever, I just felt like it has its flaws. I grew aware of its flaws, and one flaw is that there is not much range. I feel like there's not much range, and if there is, it's not so exposed, it's not so obvious. Really, it's not. The act of searching, the act of pursuing after, like, you know, chasing after novels like this, it bothers me. It bothers me that I have to literally just scurry through many, you know, websites, go on many web chats or whatever, like Reddit, you know, just forums where, you know, there's almost like a community of black readers, and I'd have to find what is recommended. I'd have to read what is recommended. I couldn't just go on, like, Kindle Unlimited and select the romance genre, whatever, coming of age genre, you know, and just, you know, see the top promoted romance novel, you know. And if there are promoted black romance novels in that, you know, list, they are so few and far between. I'm sorry, they are. And there's no range too. There's no range. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. And, you know, one thing that I got very tired of quickly was seeing on certain books BWWM, which is black woman, white man, like interracial. Nothing against interracial. I was just tired of seeing those tags on a book. Because if you deep it, do you see WWM? Does that even exist? No. No one puts, white people, they don't put tags on their books like that. They don't. It's almost like, I get it, it beckons, you know, black women, I guess, to read this book. This is for you guys, black women, you know, representation in romance, in a romance book. But at the same time, I just feel like it just, like, it limits the author. It limits. It's very limiting. That tag is very limiting, and I just don't like it. Because if the book is mainly, if the book say is romance, say it's coming of age, you're not gonna see it in that genre. You're not gonna see it in that genre. You're not gonna see it in that space, I guess. You're not gonna find in that section of coming of age romance. Most of the time, books that fill up that section are by white authors with white characters. It's almost like the only label that we can have, the only, you know, label that is there for black authors is something to do with being black, you know. And I just got tired of it very quickly. I detested tags like that. The worst ones are big black woman. Like, why are you gonna tell me that she's big? Why are you gonna tell me that she's big? Have some creativity. Have some creativity. Because it's just very limiting to have that tag there beside the title of your book, almost as to say that is what it is, that is all you're getting from this book. You're just getting a big black beautiful woman with a white man, you know, or you're just getting an interracial dating book, romance book. But what if the book is actually nuanced? What if you have multiple aspects going on? You have, like I said, coming of age, you have like maybe a thriller, you have other aspects going on in the novel. It's not just, you don't want to just limit it to a romance novel about a big black woman. Okay, so is that all I'm getting? If that's the case, then I can go elsewhere, please. Like, so another problem that I encountered during this whole experience as a exclusively black romance reader was that it kind of relates to my previous point about tags, about labels, right? Labeling every novel you make black this, black that, black, like, we get it. But when it comes to what's inside the book, why is the constant labeling still present? Why are you constantly labeling your characters as black, referring to them as black this, black that? It's like, I can't really explain it, because there's nothing wrong with just a simple description of who the person is, the character that you're reading, or maybe another character that they come across. They might be in a predominantly white space and they just describe how this person, he was black, looks, right? Nothing wrong. But the overuse of just black everything is like, I don't live my life overly conscious that I'm black. That's unless I'm in spaces where, you know, it's called to attention. But generally, I don't live my life like that. I don't. And I feel like when it comes to romance, you know, we shouldn't politicize that, especially. We shouldn't politicize, not even just romance, we shouldn't politicize every action that we make as black people. We shouldn't. Because it's like, white people don't do that. I'm not saying, I know, don't compare white to black people. Don't compare both experiences, because they are innately different. They have, you know, different histories, right? But to move forward, I feel like just experiencing without societal pressures, political pressures, I feel like it's needed. I feel like it's necessary, you know? Like, it kind of relates to the film industry. It's been overly expressed how tiring it is to watch black struggle, to watch, you know, black plight. It's tiring. It exists, we know, but that isn't all there is to being black. Black people, they experience just as much pure love as white people do, you know? There's nuance, there is range in life, and I feel like it's necessary to emulate that in romance books, in books in general. It's just necessary. It's what I want as a black reader. Yeah, that is like one of my worst ever pet peeves, like just issues in general when reading black romance novels. Like, I'm not against reading novels where I guess there are, like, you know, political messages, right? I'm not against that. I'm not against reading that, you know. But if I want to just simply read a book where there is no struggle in a political context, then I feel like I have every right, and I feel like it should be very much easy to, you know, come across that. I just feel like the issue with black novels is that there lacks range at times, and the thing is, yeah, is that it's definitely improved significantly. It's definitely improved, so I'm not even gonna hold it too much, you know. I'm not. That was just one issue that I had growing up, and I hated it so much. And I feel like to some extent I still see the issue lingering. I just feel like it should be all our responsibility as a community to provide a range of rich black novels, period. Novels that center around the black experience, whether that be political or not political. It should be made and it should be provided, you know, and it should show a range of many different perspectives within the black community. And that leads to another issue of mine that I will let you guys know in my later videos. I'm gonna definitely make this a series. I will be studying more into the Black British experience anyway, so the module I'm studying, it would definitely broaden my attitude, my opinions. It would definitely broaden it through reading like multiple texts, you know, just that, you know, center around the Black British or even Asian experiences, voices really that have almost been silenced, since we don't really hear about them growing up in Britain, you know. Growing up in secondary school, the education system doesn't really provide much depth when it comes to the Black British experience. We read we focus more so on the African American experiences. And so I feel like I have more to share from my own personal experience and from what I will be taught later on in my semester. So guys, please stay tuned, and thanks for watching, and please subscribe and make sure to give this video a like. Thanks.